Hamlet in detail. So today we will continue with the great tragedies of Shakespeare, and today we have Othello. So yesterday I told you the keyword Hokum, H-O-K-M. Okay, so we will go in that order. Hamlet first, Othello comes second, King Lear comes third, and Macbeth comes fourth. So these are the this is the order of the four plays. So Othello, you may be familiar with, definitely you may be familiar with the basic structure and the content of all these four plays, but let's just discuss it in slightly detail. So the subtitle of Othello has a subtitle. Not all Shakespearean plays, have these subtitles, but Othello is having the subtitle. Actually, we don't know exactly which year, but Othello got performed during 1602 to 1604. Okay, so the subtitle of Othello is The Moor of Venice. The Moor of Venice is the subtitle of Othello, the play. And this is actually known as the tragedy of passion. Yesterday, we just discussed what is the exact issues presented in all these four plays. And when it comes to Othello, we told yesterday that it was sexual jealousy. He got suspicious of his wife Desdemona, and that is this sexual jealousy is the tragic flow that happened in the character of Othello, and ultimately led to the tragic end of the hero. Okay, that's how the tragedy goes. Actually, there are some differences comparing to other tragedies. There are some differences in the case of Othello. This is a more intimate in scale than the other tragedies. We can connect it with, like, emotionally, as we said, this is a tragedy of passion. We can connect it, like, see, no supernatural terror. You can't see any supernatural terrors as in our Hamlet or Macbeth. In Hamlet, yesterday we discussed there is a ghost appearance and all those things. And in Macbeth also the witches and this night scenes and everything. But here, King Lear, you can't see such supernatural elements, but still the storm scenes and all those things are like quite scary. Here, you can't see any such supernatural terror in Othello, and no psychological derangement, just like King Lear. King Lear is full of this kind of psychological issues, how the aged king is banished by or rejected by, ignored by the daughters he trusted. So things like that. And here, no such issues. And no kingdoms are at stake. Yesterday, when we were discussing Hamlet, in the beginning itself, there was an impending war by Norway. Fortinbras, the king, was trying to, he announced a war against, or he proclaimed a war against Denmark. And in King Lear also, because of these issues, because we will discuss King Lear in detail, France was attacking England. Okay, and in Macbeth also you can see some civil wars, some disputes and problems were there. So many things. Here, actually, there is a slight mention that, okay, Othello has to go to Cyprus because there is a war or something like that, but no detailed issues are mentioned on the basis of this war. So no kingdoms are at stake in the case of Othello. Then political consequences of the action is not emphasized here. In Hamlet also, we yesterday when we were analyzing the character of Hamlet, we discussed that Hamlet was not at all much concerned about the political consequences of the death of the king, but the sexual elements of that. Why his mother had a hasty marriage, that too with his uncle. Did she actually deceive her husband or things like that? This was the major focus of Hamlet. So just like that, here also political consequences of the action are not emphasized, but in other tragedies, of course, especially in the case of Macbeth and all, that kind of issues are focused. So here that is also not there. So these are the factors which make Othello a kind of a different one, or something different from the other great tragedies of Shakespeare. Okay, and you can see Coleridge. Actually, this is something very important. This motifless malignity, you have to remember this. Actually, Coleridge applied this term. I told you Coleridge was the one of the first modern critics on Shakespeare. And Coleridge made a detailed analysis of many of Shakespearean works, and he said, like, he applied this term motiveless malignity to Iago, the character Iago, who's equally, we can't say famous, but notorious. He's a notorious character in Othello. But the importance of Othello as well as Iago are almost, same in the case of Othello. So he's a super villain character, very cunning, very crooked. So we can't even see such criminal minds in any other tragedies of Shakespeare. Then major source, coming to the source of Othello, that is Cinthio's Hecatomythi. Cinthio is an Italian novelist during the 16th century, early 16th century, 1504 or something like that. He born, and his period was like that, early 16th century. Italian novelist, and his major work, Hecatomythi, this is a popular work of Cinthio, and this is the source for Othello. And I don't know whether such films are there in Tamil, but in Malayalam, we have almost 2 to 3 adaptations of Othello. And in almost all the languages, we have adaptations. All the works of many of the Shakespearean works got adapted, but still, this Othello got adapted into film versions in many ways. Then, sorry, this is not the source of. Oh my God, one second. Okay, I think some slides are missing of Othello. Extremely sorry. Yeah. Actually, we are at different places, and he is the one who types, and I didn't check it properly. Extremely sorry, but I'll add these details. Okay, very soon. Please do listen to me now. This is the basic details of Othello, and are you familiar with the storyline of Othello, both of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, okay. So there is no need to, explain it in detail. I'll just tell it just to emphasis on the characters' names. Okay, Othello, of course, is a trusted general of the Venetian army. That is why the subtitle is the Moor of Venice, and has secretly married Desdemona. She is the daughter of the Venetian senator Brabantio. Okay, you should remember all these names. Then Iago is Othello's ensign, that is an assistant, and whom Othello believes to be a very honest man. And but Iago was scheming against Othello. Othello didn't know this. The major reason for this is like Othello chose Cassio as his lieutenant in preference to Iago. Iago was actually expecting that position, but Othello chose Cassio for that particular position. Now, so Iago wants to take revenge. So he is like calling Rodrigo. Rodrigo is actually a foolish suitor of Desdemona. So he is also not that happy with the marriage between Othello and Desdemona. So he is prompting this person, and Rodrigo is informing about the secret marriage to Brabantio. So, though Brabantio demands Othello's arrest, he has to accept the wholeheartedness of his daughter Desdemona, because Desdemona was very stern in her decision that she wants to be with Othello. She wants to go with Othello. Othello didn't do anything, but it was her discretion to go with him. So things like that. So Brabantio was not in a position to to arrest Othello or punish Othello. So there is an impending Turkish attack on Cyprus. This is just a mentioning. No details of the war is mentioned in the play. Okay. So Othello leaves immediately with Desdemona. He wanted to go there. So he goes with Desdemona, Iago, Cassio, and Rodrigo. These are the 5 people who go to this place. And there is in Cyprus, Iago contrives to discredit Cassio and Othello dismisses Cassio. Iago continuously, he's such a tricky person, so he is making so much of mess, and he convinced Othello that Cassio is not a trustworthy person. You have to do something. So Othello is dismissing Cassio. Then what Iago does? Iago goes to Cassio and says, like, this is really unfortunate. You have to meet Desdemona, and you can get help from her. She'll definitely help you. This is what he advises Cassio. Actually, it is because of Iago that this person Cassio got discredited or dismissed. And then this Cassio goes to Desdemona and he tells everything. And Desdemona is saying, like, okay, I will help you. I will recommend you, something like that. And during this time, actually, what Iago does is like he is putting some, implants, some suspicious seeds on Othello's mind between Desdemona and Cassio. So from that moment onwards, though Othello is very much, he is in love with Desdemona, he trusts her, everything is there, but still Iago's this kind of, intrusions make him very suspicious. And when he comes to Desdemona, she is supporting Cassio because the Cassio has already, asked help from Desdemona. So Cassio is like, Desdemona is like supporting Cassio. So this deepens the suspicion in Othello. So meanwhile, what happens? Desdemona accidentally misses the kerchief. The kerchief was the first token of love given by Othello, and she accidentally misses, and she was in search of that. She couldn't find it. Actually, who got this? Iago got this, and Iago knows this very clearly that this is Desdemona's kerchief and this is given by Othello. He knows everything, but still he gives this to Cassio. And Cassio thought like, okay, this is a nice gift, and he is gifting this to Bianca. Bianca is the lover of Cassio. So in the case of this great tragedies, you should be familiar with the names of the major characters, okay, at least. Then it will be like in the first class I told you, this will help you in eliminating so many answers in the MCQ question papers. Like if it is an MCQ with so many options, if you know, like you have to identify one of the characters in a play. So if you're familiar with some names like this, Bianca, Ophelia, or something like that, then you can easily, even though you don't know the answer, you can eliminate these kinds of answers. That is the technique with which we can clear these competitive examinations. So please be familiar with these kinds of names. Then what happens? Yeah, this Bianca's possession of this kerchief confirms that, okay, this Desdemona's infidelity is clear now from the perspective of Othello. Okay, this is the kerchief that I have given to her, and now this is with Bianca. Bianca is the mistress of Cassio, so definitely she must have gifted this to Cassio, and there is Iago to add fuel to his doubts. Then he humiliates Desdemona in public. Okay, but this creates some dismay to the wife of Iago, that is Emilia. Emilia knows all the facts. Okay, she knows everything. She knows all the truths and Iago's cunningness and everything. And this public humiliation on Desdemona makes some kind of discomfort in Emilia, and she feels very empathetic towards Desdemona. So then Iago urges Rodrigo to kill Cassio, but Rodrigo manages only to wound him. He couldn't kill Cassio. Then Iago kills Rodrigo because now Rodrigo knows that Iago is very cunning person. He is the one who compelled him to do such things. So some way or other, Othello comes to know about this. So I should kill him. So likewise, Iago kills Rodrigo to ensure silence. And Othello, what happens? Othello now at the peak of the suspicion, the sexual jealousy, and he confirms that, okay, this lady is cheating, Desdemona is cheating on him. So he kills Desdemona in her bedchamber. So in the presence of the Venetian representatives, after this, Emilia couldn't hold on. So she, in front of the Venetian representatives, Emilia reveals Iago's guilt. Okay, so this was a great shock to Othello. He can't do anything now. Okay, everything is over. He killed Desdemona. So Iago, so when Emilia reveals this, Iago kills, the husband kills the wife. Okay, because all his plan is now completely dropped. So he got angry, he got furious, and he kills Emilia. And but Iago at the same time is wounded by Othello, and Iago is trying to escape. He's not dead, he's not murdered by Othello, but he got wounded by Othello. But Othello is now very remorseful. He's very guilty. So what happens? He stabs himself, and he dies. So Iago is captured and condemned to imprisonment, as well as torturing and all those things. Iago thus happens his end. So who takes up the responsibility? Cassio takes command in Cyprus. This is what happens in a nutshell of Othello. So the tragic flow of the tragic hero here is sexual jealousy, the unnecessary trust on Iago, and the unnecessary suspicion on Desdemona. This made the tragic flow of the character. A.C. Bradley, again, I told you yesterday, A.C. Bradley, the main critique of Shakespeare, he has made detailed analysis of all the four plays. And in case of Othello, what he said is like, this is the most painfully exciting and the most terrible tragedy of Shakespeare. That is what he said. Because from the part of Desdemona, she is such a loving, she is such a wonderful character, but still she had to die. She was devoid of the love from Othello. She couldn't enjoy, because she was someone who opposed her father, and she stood for Othello, but she couldn't enjoy what she expected, and things like that. Then on account of this theme being sexual jealousy rising to a heightened pitch of passion, bringing it with shame and humiliation for Othello, and the helpless suffering of Desdemona. This is what actually given emphasis by Bradley, A.C. Bradley. Okay. Now coming to the themes, of course, we know that the major theme is like jealous, mistrust, and all those things. Then the central concern of the play is Othello's change in attitude towards Desdemona. That is what actually the shift in the play. He was fine, he was happy with Desdemona, and he too stood strong in front of her father, and he took her home, and everything was fine. But at the night itself, during their first night itself, he had to leave to Cyprus for this war and all. So he was also brimming with love towards Desdemona, but during the period in the Cyprus itself, he got manipulated by Iago, and he couldn't express his love for Desdemona, and he couldn't carry out a nice relationship with her. Then Othello's loss of trust in Desdemona, reducing Othello to a bestial frenzy. That is how definitely in the beginning, actually, that is what one of the features of the tragedy. The hero should be of a noble origin, or a noble man, so that only the people, we feel this kind of pity and fear when it comes to the case of his tragic end. So this person was like that, but when he started to suspect Desdemona, this is what actually happens. His nature is turned into a bestial one, and he didn't think like a human being there onwards. He was like totally a different person, and his trust in Iago never flags. That is what the major problem that he had. He blindly trusted Iago. He never, when Iago said like, oh, the kerchief is there, something like that, okay, that is the evidence. He didn't go for further inquiry. He didn't make an open conversation with his wife, or he didn't search for any other evidences. He assumed that, okay, this is what happening, and the complete trust on Iago is actually a major flaw in his character. And he begins to see love through Iago's eyes than Desdemona's. Okay, that is what happened. Iago put a perspective, and from that perspective, Othello started to see Desdemona. Actually, Iago and Desdemona are two representations we can say. Actually, Desdemona and Iago thus represented the internalized features of the character Othello, or the hero Othello. Okay, the first thing is that his loving and generous self is represented by Desdemona. But at the same time, there is a dark side, a darkly passionate, self-centered ego is there, a manly ego is there. That is something what represented by Iago. So when Iago pricks on that ego, okay, it intensifies. It intensifies, and he cannot hold on. That is some, the male ego works really well in the case of Othello. So Othello, Shakespeare presents Othello as an individual, as a character who has both the sides. Okay, both the sides, and the character Desdemona is representing, symbolically representing Iago's positive sides, the love, the generous nature, and everything. But at the same time, Iago is that is why Iago could attract or grab the attention of Othello, or he could manipulate the nature of Othello, all those things, because such a shade, such a psychological, passionate, egoistic self or shade is there inside the character of Othello, which is intensified by the cunningness of Iago. So these two people are symbolically representing the two sides or two shades of the character Othello. And Iago and Desdemona also presents two other sides, keeping Othello apart, the two sides like love and trust. Iago cannot trust or love. Okay, he's not a person who cannot be. Actually, we can see such people in and around us. That is what the realistic part of this play. But Desdemona offers an ideal, unconditional love and trust. Even when Othello was like strange towards her, she was still hopeful. Okay, he must be disturbed with or confused with the wars and all those things. I will wait and things like that. She is in a very she was giving such an unconditional love, though she encountered, she confronted rejection from Othello, still she was hopeful. Okay, so that kind of an unconditional love was actually represented by Desdemona. Iago is always associated with the devilish things, and several times in the play itself, like it's clearly mentioned, like he's kind of a devilish person, while Desdemona is a symbol of Christian love and resignation to the will of God. And then time in Othello is also something very important, because there is something called double time scheme. Okay, so you can expect a question like, which among the great tragedies is employing the double time scheme, and that is Othello. I'll explain what this double time scheme is. Othello is sent to Cyprus on the very night of his marriage. Okay, on the same day of his marriage itself, he is sent. The time taken for the action is not more than 2 days. It takes only just 2 days. But the play, however, produces the impression that several weeks have passed. Okay, several weeks. It's just 2 days, but the play gives an impression with the expressions of other characters, with the expressions and the dialogues of the characters, the audience will get the feel that it is not just 2 days but several weeks or sometimes months. We will see like that. Sometimes we in our usual life we used to say, no, I feel like it has been for several days that this is happening, but this is just for 2 days or 1 day or something like that. We get that kind of an impression. It depends on the emotional attachment or the emotional investment that we put in that particular area or that instance or whatever it is. So that kind of a thing is very much employed in the play Othello. Because there are some dialogues by people, like told 100 times. Okay, he told it at I told it at 100 times, or he told it 100 times. So if you want to say it for 100 times, definitely it will take so much of time. And then away for a week, though it for 2 days, it's like I feel like I'm away for 2 weeks. These kinds of dialogues are employed in this particular play, and these kinds of dialogues will give the impression to the reader that, oh, it has been so long, the law is away from Desdemona and this is happening and all these things. So that intensifies the emotional intensity. Okay, increases the emotional intensity also. When the waiting is so long, we'll be like, oh, this is like, I can't bear this. So many things emotionally it will affect in multidimensional ways. So that kind of a technique, and this technique is called double time scheme. Originally there is one time that is just for 2 days, but the characters feel like this is like for long this is happening. And this means that the two time schemes are simultaneously at work. One is like the original time, and the second one is like the time that we feel or experiencing. Okay, though it is 24 to plus 24, 48 hours, I feel like I'm experiencing like what to say, more than 100 hours or 300 hours or something like that. So this creates the impression of a chaotic world also. Like the time is not running, that is one part, or the time is running like very fast or something like that. So this is an impression for the chaotic world also. And you can see like very much chaotic situations are happening in Othello too. Okay, so that is what the basic ideas of Othello, by King Lear, sorry, by Shakespeare. The other work is King Lear. In case of King Lear, actually there are some these are missing, some sorry. Mm, Slides are missing. In case of Othello, only at that time slot, time scheme, double time scheme, that slide is missing, and this Iago and Desdemona slide, I'll include those two slides very soon. And the King Lear, the first slide is actually missing. I'll tell you the basic details of King Lear. King Lear is a play. This is the third play among the great tragedies. This is the third one, which was performed in 1606. 1606, 1606. So maybe sometimes you can connect, if you are interested, you can connect like this. After 10 years, Shakespeare died. Okay, 1616 is the death year of Shakespeare, and King Lear got published in, performed in 1606. So sometimes you can make such connections which will make it easier for you to remember the years and all, because otherwise it is not easy to remember all these years, because so many works, so many authors, so it is not possible for a person to remember all these things. So how can we reconcile human dignity with human failure in the face of life's demands? This is what actually the major question that is propagated through the play King Lear by Shakespeare. Okay, so this play is filled with various manifestations of human cruelty, desire for power, agonizing disasters, and all those things. When it comes to the themes, you can say like the insignificance of human life, whether there is justice in this world, pride, betrayal, all these kinds of things are employed in King Lear. Okay, and the powerful conclusion emphasizing morbid response to life and finality to the death. Actually, I don't know whether you know this fact or not. King Lear is a tragedy, of course, but there is another version for King Lear, which is a comic one, which is a comedy. That is actually written by Nahum Tate, Nahum, Nahum Tate, Tate. Okay, that slide is missing. I'll incorporate it, but just note it down. Nahum Tate is one of the important figures when you uh, connect something with King Lear. This is an important name that you should keep in your mind, Nahum Tate, and his version of King Lear. He produced the play with a happy ending. Generally, King Lear is having a very sad ending, very tragic ending, but Nahum Tate famously produced the play with happy ending, and during that time, so many performances happened based on the play of Nahum Tate. That is the happy ending. And in this happy ending play, Edgar, the legal son of Gloucester, I hope this play is also familiar to you. Edgar is the legal son of Gloucester, Earl of Gloucester, and he is actually in the place of King of France. King of France is the one who married Cordelia, the youngest daughter of Lear, and in place of the King of France, it is Edgar, and they actually towards the end, Cordelia is not dying. Edgar is there, Cordelia is there, and they are happily continuing with the life and things like that. That is what the deviation from the tragedy to the comedy. And this version was very popular, and many performances happened based on this particular what to say version of Nahum Tate. Okay, Nahumtate, Nahum Tate. And this is one of the questions that I saw in many of the competitive examinations, as well as even in net 2013 or something, I guess. This question was asked. I don't know after that whether they asked the same question or not, but this is something a very crucial, important information that you can keep in your mind. Also, though you are familiar with, I'll just go through the actually I Shakti knows I'm not into the plots of all the plays or all the works, but why I'm insisting on these four plays, because there are chances of getting more questions, and it is necessary to know the details of all these plays, and that's why I'm giving you a gist of what is this. And after this we'll be continuing with the previous style, that I'll be telling you the basic details of the play. And also one more thing, Padma, you're new to this, that's why we'll be what to say, this particular session will be ending in a minute, and after that you can join using the same link. Okay, yeah, we'll be having
Okay.
another session too.
Okay.
So the plot, we can just start the plot, though it will get, divided in between. So no problem. We'll start. Actually, the aged British king. King Lear is presented as an old man who is aged more than four scores. This is how Shakespeare has written the introduction to King Lear. Four scores. One score is CORE. One score is equal to 20 years. So 4 scores means 4 into 20, 80. So we can understand that King Lear is a person who is more than 80 years old. He is such an aged king, very old king, and that's how his introduction is. And Lear, he decides to share his kingdom between his 3 daughters. He has 3 daughters, and he is planning to share his kingdom between these 3 daughters. And he is planning to spend his remaining years in the court, resting very peacefully with all his 3 daughters. This is what his plan is, the usual plan of all the fathers who is like very much aged and above 80 years old. So this is what the plan of King Lear also. Okay. So, yeah, the plot of King Lear. So he's an aged king who is more than four scores, that is 80 years, and he is planning to divide his kingdom between his three daughters. But how he can divide his kingdom between three daughters? That decision was the major problem, or that decision leads to the tragic flaw of the character of King Lear. Okay, what his plan was is like the girls, the children, the daughters should express their love for the father through words. Okay, they should express verbal expression of their love for their father. This is what the requirement of the king, and based on their how happy he is, based on their verbal expression, he'll be dividing the kingdom. So the first daughter Goneril comes and she flatters him like anything. Second daughter Regan comes, she too says the same thing. And the third daughter Cordelia is the most favorite among the all the three. And she is like, she said like, I don't have nothing to say. This is what she said. And what she says is like, I love you just like how a daughter loves a father. Then he is saying like, no, this is not what I want. I need more. You should express more. And this girl like, nothing. I don't have to say it. Actually, that was the time when he is dividing the kingdom, as well as both the elder ones are married and Cordelia's suitors are there. Okay, so this is an occasion where he'll be dividing the kingdom between the three daughters, as well as Cordelia will get married with one of the suitors available there. So Cordelia says nothing. I don't have to say anything. I have nothing to say. So King Lear says, nothing will come of nothing. This is one of the important quotes from King Lear. Nothing will come of nothing. And she said, like, still nothing. I don't have anything to say. She was not ready to flatter her father, or she doesn't want to express her love through hollow words, just like her sisters. Okay, and Regan and Goneril, they exaggerated their declaration of love for their father. And the king gets angry because of this, and the angry king divides the kingdom between these two daughters, that is Goneril and Regan, and Cordelia is banished. She's completely banished. And the king says, like, okay, she has nothing. I too have nothing to give to her. So if you are willing, you can take her. He is telling this to the suitors of Cordelia. And no suitor is ready to accept her except King of France. King of France said, like, I could see a very genuine soul in Cordelia, and she's the one who loves you more. So definitely, I will marry her. So King of France takes her hand, and he goes to France with her. Okay. So after that, the king is also very furious. Oh, she didn't express her love for me, things like that. And then what the king does is like, he's happy. Okay, I have two daughters with me. So what the king is saying, like, I'll be keeping 100 knights with me. Okay, 100 soldiers with me to serve me. And let Goneril and Regan rule the kingdom. This is what his plan. First, he goes to Goneril, the elder one, and he is getting a very hostile response from the people there. He's not at all happy, and they are even planning to. They had the plan of, or they even reduced the number of the knights accompanying the king. Very hostile treatment. Okay, and he runs against and rages into storm, and he is very unhappy, and he goes to Regan, his second daughter, with the hope that okay, she will at least treat him in a better way. But he gets the same response from Regan also. Actually, Goneril has sent a letter to Regan explaining all these things. The king is on the way to you, so treat him in that way, so that otherwise he'll be staying with you, he'll be a burden, things like that. So Regan is also doing the same. The king is very much devastated, very much depressed. You have to understand that he is a person more than 80 years old, and he got betrayed by his own daughters, and he even banished the favorite child of him, and now he has no one to accompany with. So the fool, the character fool is there. Fool is accompanying King Lear, And one more person is there, Earl of Kent. Okay, he's also a very noble man in the court. And when King Lear was banishing Cordelia, Earl of Kent was opposing him. And when Kent was, making some recommendations for Cordelia, this person, King Lear, is saying, Kent, don't come between the dragon and its wrath. Okay, dragon is very furious now. He's the dragon and he's very furious now. So don't come in between. You will also have to suffer the consequences. So he's giving warnings, but still Kent is there for Cordelia and he's banishing Kent also. So Kent has no authority to enter the kingdom. So he comes in disguise. And he is asking King Lear, shall I accompany you? And King Lear is accepting because he cannot understand that this is Earl of Kent. Kent knows that this is what going to happen. Goneril and Regan are not good people, so they'll definitely do something bad to King Lear. So he is also accompanying. So now the king is out of both the houses. Now he is to the open wind. That is what called the storm scene of King Lear. Okay, in Act 3, I guess, the storm scene. And actually his mind is full of, it's too turbulent, it's full of stormy kind of things, and the nature is also showing the same kind of an effect. Nature is actually replicating what is happening inside the mind of King Lear. Okay, this is how it goes. And he's in the open wind. He is having very poor clothes and all those things. And that's when there is a dialogue by, there is a soliloquy or a monologue by King Lear, that now I can understand how poor a king was. I'm just paraphrasing. This is not the exact lines. I'm just paraphrasing. How poor a king was I, because I was not at all, conscious about the poor people who are opened to this lightning, this thunder, this storm, this rain, and all those things. I was simply happy. I was simply comfort in my palace. Okay, I was enjoying all the pleasures and all the comforts, all the amenities. So I didn't understand that this is what the poor people of my country, actually this is something gives an insight into the Elizabethan society and the poor people of that country. Actually, though the England was flourishing in all way. We have discussed the condition of England during that time. Though England was flourishing, there were so many poor people who were struggling even to have 3 meals a day. Okay, so that kind of people, how they are struggling, and the identification with them by a king is actually portrayed perfectly in this King Lear. Okay, actually, that is something we can have the references to many of the rural areas of England during that time. So the king is very well, and he goes mad. He loses his sanity, and he's like, he started blabbering something. So there are people like this. So there is a parallel plot goes just like this. This is the main plot, and there is another parallel plot of Earl of Gloucester. Earl of Gloucester is also very unhappy with the decision of King Lear that he banished Cordelia and he divided the kingdom between Goneril and Regan. It's there for Gloucester also. Gloucester is actually having two sons. One is his legal son, that is Edgar, and the other one is his illegal son, Edmund. So Edmund was kept away for a long time because he is an illegal son of Gloucester, and now he is with Gloucester. So Edmund, because of this illegal identity, he is very much frustrated and he wants to take revenge on his father as well as his stepbrother, that is Edgar. Actually, these people are good. Gloucester should have, took care of this person, Edmund, for sure. But Edgar is a very nice person. But still, this Edmund is very much furious towards his father as well as stepbrother. So he is planning some plots against his stepbrother. He wrote a letter. He wrote a letter that, okay, wrote a letter as if Edgar is writing this letter to Edmund. The legal son is writing to illegal son. What is written? Like, we should kill our father soon so that we can share the wealth very soon. How long we will wait for the death of this person? So something like that. And Edmund is very tricky. Actually, you have to read the play. I don't know whether you read the play in detail or not. If you get a chance, please read the play in a very detailed way. It's really a very nice play and very tricky. Edmund, he actually manipulated both his stepbrother as well as the father simultaneously. He goes to Edgar and tells that, okay, someone has manipulated the father and he's very angry on you for some other reason. Okay, he's very angry on you, so you should not come in front of him for some time. Okay, it should be like this, so you should hide somewhere. He is asking Edgar like that. And to father, he says like, see, this is the when Gloucester enters, Edmund is like hiding this letter, purposefully hiding this letter, so that Gloucester will understand that he is hiding something. So definitely, naturally, Gloucester is asking, what is that? And Edmund is like, no, no, it's just something, some random things and all those things. And then Gloucester is again insisting. Then this person is like, how can I tell this to my father? Actually, Edgar is a nice guy. For some reason, he got this kind of a greediness, and he sent a letter to me like this. Don't worry, I will advise him. Okay, I will tell him everything. Don't worry, and things like that. So, what is the tragic flaw in the case of Gloucester is Edgar is the son who was with this person. um, who was with this person, but still, he failed. He failed in, one second. Yeah, he failed in addressing or accepting the reality that Edgar will not do like that. There can be some differences, there can be some manipulations. He should have understood in that way, but he didn't. Okay, that is the mistake done by Gloucester. In the just like King Lear has done, he discarded his favorite or loyal daughter, just like that this person, Gloucester, is also discarding his loyal son, that is Edgar. So after some time, still Edmund is making lots of mess, and finally he manipulates as if Edgar has wounded him, and Gloucester is also banishing Edgar. Okay, Gloucester is sending his soldiers to kill Edgar, and to that extent it goes. So Edgar, then no other go, he has to flee from there. So this person is escaping from that place, and then he understands that, okay, this is what something happening, not clearly, but he is getting some gist. So he is in the disguise of Tom the beggar. Okay, Tom the mad beggar. That is what the disguised version Edgar is receiving. So he is also wandering here and there. So simultaneously, he meets whom? King Lear. King Lear, who got banished from his daughters, is now wandering here and there. So Edgar, poor Tom the beggar is also there. So all these people are joining, and they are in a safe place. It's not a very nice place or something like that, but a hut. But these people are there in the hut. So Goneril and Regan are very happy now, and they are planning some plots against these persons. And Edmund now is betraying his father to Regan and her husband, okay, Cornwall. So he's saying like, so meanwhile what happens is like, Cordelia understood that her father is in danger now, because she was expecting the same. So she was having a watch on this people, and she understood that, okay, with the help of King of France, she is like coming to England, and she is here for a war. They proclaimed a war against, a secret war against England, and they planned for a sudden attack. But when she came, she gave this secret information to Gloucester. Gloucester now trusts Edmund like anything, right? So he is giving this information to Edmund. He is saying, like, okay, finally, Cordelia is here for the help of the father. So She's there. She's staying near the Dover beach, Dover cliff. So I have to go there. I have to help them. Somehow we have to restore King Lear here. So things like that. Edmund now, he's not a trustworthy person. He gives this information to Regan and he is betraying his father, and he is even giving the evidences to Regan and family that the letter from Cordelia is actually shot by this person, and they understood that okay, Gloucester is with the side of Cordelia and they are against the country. So what they do when Gloucester comes back, they are questioning him and they are plucking the eyes, out of Gloucester's face. That is what the punishment they are giving, and they are even they had the plan of killing him, but Gloucester escapes. And these people thought like, okay, anyway, he is blinded now. How far he can go? He'll definitely die within some time. This is what their plan. So Gloucester goes and he's like, now he understood everything because Regan reveals that it is your son Edmund gave us the information. So now he understands that what he did is a mistake. Edgar was the loyal person, loyal son, and this person is not the one. And now he understands everything, but now it is too late. So now he wants to commit suicide. Okay, commit suicide, and he wants to jump from the cliff of Dover Cliff, and he wants to jump from there and he wants to commit suicide. So he's on the way to Dover Cliff alone, blinded. Meanwhile, who sees him? Poor Tom, the original son of Gloucester, that is, Edgar sees him, and he got shocked on seeing his blinded father. And he's like, he's offering some helps to Gloucester. So Gloucester is saying like, no, I am a person who did mistakes to my son. So I'm going to commit suicide. This is what he says, and he goes to the cliff, and he's asking help from Edgar himself. Okay, the son himself. That okay, please lead me to the Dover cliff so that I'll commit suicide. So Edgar is feeling so sad, but at the same time he cannot reveal his identity. So he is taking this person to some place, and it's a very ground area only, but he says like, okay, we are now on the top of the cliff. Now you can jump. This is what this person says. So at that time, Gloucester is saying like, no, I don't feel like this is a heightened place or something like that. But this person says like, you are just blinded. No, that's why you cannot understand that. You just do like this. Then this person jumps, he falls on the same ground, and then he's like, why I didn't die? So he's very confused, and this poor Tom comes again with a different voice, and he says like, why are you here? And he said, Gloucester said, no, I jumped from that place and now I'm here. Still I'm alive and all those things. And this person said, oh my god, this is like too high. Okay, you jump from there and still you are alive. Oh my god, something very miraculous. And he says like that, and he takes Gloucester to the same place of Lear. Okay, so all these people are safe there. But everyone is mentally broken, completely mentally broken, all the fathers. So now Cordelia initiates the war, but already these people understood that Cordelia is initiating a war against England. So Goneril and Regan, they are together. So Edmund is making another mess with these two ladies also. Both Regan and Goneril are in love with Edmund, and they want to marry Edmund instead of their husbands. So this goes in another way. And then, finally in the war, anyway, Cordelia loses and she got captivated. And then finally this Goneril's husband Albany, okay, he's a nice person. And during their trials and all those things, the infidelity of these two sisters is revealed, and they had no other go. One sister is trying to kill the other by mixing poison in the juice and all. And when it revealed that Goneril does this for Regan, and Regan drinks this, and Regan is almost dying. At that time, the letter Goneril has written to Edmund that we will be together, we can marry, all those things, that is also getting revealed. So what the thing, she has no other go other than stabbing herself, that is committing suicide. So she too commits suicide. Both the sisters die. And then now Cordelia is there, so everything is almost set. Okay, so Lear is also there to see Cordelia, the last scenes of Cordelia. But after, before that, these people, before they die, they have ordered a soldier to kill Cordelia as if she has committed suicide. So before they could help Cordelia, the soldier has already killed her, hanged to death. So she dies. And after that, only Lear makes a visit, and he has Cordelia's dead body in his hand, and he's asking, like, and he is crying aloud. That is a very emotional scene. We don't know exactly whether he is really insane or he has the sanity to understand that his daughter is dead or something like that. So he tries to speak with her, and then he cries aloud and all those things. Very tragic moment. And after that only they came to, and with that heartbreak he dies. And instead, though it is not presented on stage, we will get an information that Gloucester is also dead in between, because he is also much heartbroken, and he too dies, but in a very calm condition, that he identified that Edgar is with him and all those things are there, but still he died. Lear dies. Cordelia dies. We don't have much information on King of France, what happened to him, whether he got captivated or whether he died or something like that. Anyway, the war between them, King of France loses. Okay, so that is what the information about him. So sorry, finally, who all left? This Cordelia, no, sorry, this Kent is there, Earl of Kent is there, Albany is there, Edgar is there. These three people are there, and they are taking over the responsibility of ruling England. This is how it ends. A very nice play of Shakespeare. So many, philosophical reflections are also there, and the play has a twofold character. The lovers, two lovers of Shakespeare. This is his greatest play. To general theater goers, this is not a great success. This is how it goes. Because if you are a real fan of Shakespeare, if you really um, love Shakespeare, then this must be a favorite of yours. For me, this is my favorite. Just like Hamlet, Hamlet and King Lear are the favorites of mine. And but for the usual theater goers who are not that interested, not that very much passionate into Shakespeare's work, will not like it much, because it is full of problems, and we won't accept that Cordelia, who hasn't done anything, is like finally captivated and killed, and Lear is also having all this. It's full of tragedy, right? So people may not be like so much interested in this kind of. That is what Bradley's opinion on King Lear. These two responses are possible. We can say, like, just like the modern times, a mixed response is possible in the case of King Lear. Okay. And along with Othello, Bradley says Othello is the most tragic or most passionate one, he says. And Bradley says, along with Othello, the most painful and pathetic of all the four tragedies, these two, Othello as well as King Lear. Because in other plays, there are some, we can connect it with Hamlet. Unnecessarily, he was procrastinating, and there are some reasons. In Macbeth, also, he is doing so many mistakes. So we will feel like, though it is a tragedy, we'll feel like this. But in the case of Othello and King Lear, unnecessarily they are undergoing so much of pain, so much of problems, issues, things like that. So that's why these two are the most pathetic of all the four tragedies. In these two plays, evil appears in its coldest and most inhuman forms. That is what Bradley says. Okay, coldest and most inhuman forms. Then, what to say? So this is the content of Shakespeare, sorry, King Lear. And also, some people, later critics, used to say that actually what the tragic flaw of King Lear is, like the error in judgment. Okay, error in judgment. He made errors in the judgment of the love of her daughters. Only the verbal expression he considered. That is what the tragic flaw of this character, Lear. But Later critics used to say, is it really the mystic of Lear, or should we accuse Cordelia for this? Because Lear is a person who is more than 80 years old. Okay, we usually have a psychological fact that when people grows old, they'll be like kids. Kids usually come and ask, no, do you love me? How much you love me? And all those things. And we used to say, yeah, I love you more than this, more than that, and things like that. So people who goes beyond an extent of an age also feel like that they need to get that love to be expressed. Okay, rather than okay, don't you understand that I love you from my deeds and all? I am your daughter, I am your son, so I love you. If you say in this way, they won't be satisfied. They are like very childish in nature. So it was the responsibility of Cordelia to express something to an extent, because of course she's the most favorite daughter of Lear. So definitely he'll be expecting a lot from her. So what was the problem if she could told him something like that? If she had done it like that, this won't happen. Okay, all these problems wouldn't have happened in the case of Lear. Lear wouldn't have undergone this kind of a pressure, stress in all these disastrous situations. This is what later, what to say, a study on King Lear, which seems to be really logical. But anyway, this is a tragedy, this is a story, and this is what to be happened, and so it happened. So these kinds of analysis came later. So these are the sources of King Lear. Okay, just like Cynthia's hecatomity for Othello, you can see various versions. Okay, of chronicle materials. Chronicle materials means the histories will be recorded in chronicle materials. So from some historical chronicles, this story is actually retrieved. Then an earlier anonymous play, King Lear. Spelling is different. Leir. Okay, King Lear. This was an earlier anonymous play. We don't know who exactly the author of this play. It came in 1590, and that is one of the sources. And then Holinshed's Chronicles, then version of a tale from A Mirror for Magistrates. Subplot is from Sydney's Arcadia. Some subplots, Gloucester plot, and all those things are there. No, so that is from Sydney's Arcadia. So Shakespeare got inspiration from all these sources, and King Lear is a compilation or what to say, in a total, it's an output of all these sources. Okay, so now you can say some, one second. Yeah, religious undertones. Okay, religious undertones means, first of all, it is Cordelia. Cordelia is a Christ-like figure who comes when the person is in a disastrous situation. He who comes for resurrection. So though she cannot help him in a materialistic way, she is like he dies. Okay, he dies, and during his last moments, at least he could see her, though she is like dead, he could see her. So her death symbolizes Christ's crucifixion. Christ actually crucified for the sake of the people, to help the people, to save the people. So just like that, her death symbolizes Christ's crucifixion. Then tragedy as a manifestation of God's will. That is also something very much evident in the case of King Lear, because the sufferings of Lear and Gloucester, which they have brought upon themselves, is a punishment for their sins by God. We usually say like that. Okay, manifestation of, if you do some mistakes or sins, you have to undergo the punishments for that. That is how the usual Christian belief. So that is what actually, evident here also. And therefore, forgiveness is accompanied by death, a symbol of eternal mercy. That is also there. Usually, if they do some, their repentance or their forgiveness, is actually accompanied by their death, and eternal mercy is there for both these people. And comes to the political themes, you can see it reflects the then prevalent belief of an approaching apocalypse, the total collapse of the social structure, end of the world. During that time, during the Elizabethan period, especially when Shakespeare was writing all these things, this kind of an apocalyptic approaching apocalypse, okay, was there. That is the end of the world. Everything is like the collapse of the social structure. The daughters are against the fathers, they are plotting against the sons, are plotting against the father, and they are, you know, punishing or harming other people irrespective of their age and all those things. So such an idea was prevalent during that time. We usually say like Kaligalam nowadays, we usually say, right? So that kind of a belief was there during that time. And then the fear of impending civil war, okay, this France attack on England and this conflicts between the daughters and everything. That time we had the Elizabethan society had the fear of an impending civil war, and that is also reflecting in King Lear. Then the play supports the civil authority expected from the King James First, and you can see like this play got performed in 1606. 1603, Queen Elizabeth dies and James First is ascending to the throne. Okay, so it is in the Jacobean period, James First period, that King Lear is being performed. So it supports the civil authority expected from King James as against the catastrophe of Lear's reign. Because I told you during the storm scene, the king is identifying with the sufferings of the poor, and he is understanding that, oh, this is how my poor people were suffering, I didn't know this, and all those things. So that is actually a hint to the present king. Okay, you should also be like this, you should be very careful about the well-being of the people of England, because there are people in the rural areas of England still suffering like this, without food, without proper shelter and all those things. So that is what something very important, a political context in the case of King Lear. And then the conflict between the rising bourgeois and the old aristocracy of Shakespeare's day is reflected here. The rising bourgeois means, of course, Regan, Goneril, Edmund, all these people are the rising bourgeois class, and of course the existing aristocracy, how the conflict between these two people. This is all like the during that time these kinds of issues were there, and this was actually a reflection or kind of a warning or something like that to the present society. Again, coming to the subplot, Gloucester plot is the major subplot of King Lear, the play King Lear. And you can say Edgar's exile as Mad Tom, poor Tom, then Regan and Goneril's sexual rivalry, because both of them are longing for Edmund. So their sexual rivalry, then these are the major subplots came in King Lear. And in case of King Lear, actually the subplot is more complex and well defined than the main plot. King Lear's plot goes in a way, but Gloucester's plot was more intense, more emotional in many ways. Okay, so that is something very important. And then, yeah, that is what almost about King Lear. I thought of connecting all the four plays today, but still I'm lagging like anything. Okay, we will just, still we have 5.5 minutes more, so we'll just start Macbeth, which is again happened. Actually, there is some confusions in some places. You can say like whether King Lear or Macbeth is the last play, because both got performed in 1606. So that can be a confusion that comes at most of the time, but mostly it is identified and understood as King Lear comes before Macbeth, and Macbeth is the end. But even I have seen in some questions or some random places that King Lear is the last among the four plays or something like that. But we'll just go with this order, Hockham order, okay? Because we don't have so many basic minute details of this period and its performance and all those things. These are some recorded informations, those are available. And Macbeth is, of course, we can say the last of the tragedies, and the style is completely formed. In the beginning, I told you, when he was writing this tragedies, he was at the peak of his spirit. Okay, it was like too good for him to write. And the source is like for Macbeth source, it is Holinshed's Chronicles. See, so many sources are there. You have to, read these in detail. And if possible, please try to keep in your memories. Holinshed's Chronicles of England, Scotland and Ireland, that is one work. And then George Buchman's Latin History of Scotland. Then Reginald Scott's Discovery of Witchcraft. King James First, Demonology. Okay, these are the works, the major sources of Macbeth, the non-sources of Macbeth. And Shakespeare must have collected the basic details or informations from all these works. And then Thomas Middleton, this is an information which is very important. Thomas Middleton is believed to have adapted and abridged the original play written by Shakespeare. We don't know whether actually Macbeth is written by Shakespeare. This is an exact work of Shakespeare, but still, it is believed that Thomas Middleton has abridged it. He has made some editions, okay, editing works to this work, for the purpose of this performance and all those things. So he adapted and edited this to an extent, and that is what actually nowadays popular. Such a belief is there. So if such a question comes, you should be familiar with this particular name, that Thomas Middleton is the person who has abridged and adapted the present version of Macbeth written by Shakespeare. Okay. Then we can say like, the plot. Now it comes to the plot, and the plot, I guess. Anyway, I cannot finish it today, I guess. But still, right? Macbeth's plot, and definitely, okay, we will go in that order only. We will finish it in the next class, no problem. So Scotland is stormed by rebellion, which is effectively resisted by the generals Macbeth and Banquo. Macbeth is a military nobleman. That is the Thane of Glamis. In the beginning, he is the Thane, Thane, Thane. Thane means a military nobleman. Military nobleman is like his nobility is due to the military power that he is having. Hereditary wise, he is not a nobleman. He is not born to a noble category, but military, his power as a warrior, he is a nobleman. That is what called the title Thane of Glamis. That is his first position. And Bango is another person. These are the two generals who was dealing with the rebellion of Scotland, and they successfully managed to abolish or completely stop this rebellion. Then on their way back to King Duncan Scott. So King Duncan is the king of Scotland then. So they meet three witches, the supernatural elements in Macbeth, three witches, they are meeting. And these three witches are prophecy. They are giving a prophecy that Macbeth will become the Thane of Cawdor. Actually, now he is the Thane of Glamis. And the witches says like he'll soon be the Thane of Cawdor, which is a higher position. And then he'll be the king of Scotland. This is what the witches say. Okay, this is what the the major trigger for Macbeth for his greediness. We will stop here and we'll continue with the plot as well as Macbeth and the rest of the works of Shakespeare. So by the next class, we'll be finishing Shakespeare completely, because it's just his Roman tragedies left, I guess. Roman tragedies and romances, that is what left in the case of Shakespeare. And then his sonnets too. Okay, so the next class, the two sessions, will be definitely be finishing Shakespeare, and we'll be continuing with the rest of the plays. So